Welcome back, you delightful Godot people. In this video, we're going to talk about appending arrays and if conditions. See, I want to use the player inputs in our story, and for that to happen, I want to go through several steps. The first is I want to prompt the player to type a word. The player should know what kind of word it is. Is this a name? Is this a place? A noun? An adverb? An adjective? What is it, right? Second, I want to add those player words to a new array. I can't put everything in prompts, I need to store them separately. Third, I want to stop prompting the player when we need to and instead display the completed story. I can't display the story before it's completed because we'll get a bug, right? It'll either say there's too many arguments or too few arguments, so I can't put these together as a single string. So I need that logic in there. Okay, so let's get in here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable. And I'm going to call this player words. These are the words the player types. And I'm going to initialize it as an empty array. Why? Because when I start appending to this array, when I start adding things into it, I want GDScript to know immediately, or I want Godot to know immediately, this is an array, don't worry about what to do with it, it's just an array. By the way, you will have noticed that I've put the variable here, not in ready. Why? Because we're now at a point where our variables are going to have to be needed in multiple functions. You see, at the moment, I've got this story variable here and ready, but if I try and do anything here, story equals empty string, I'm going to get an error, and the error is identify story is not declared in the current scope. The current scope is this code block. Okay, but what happens if I hold Alt and move it up, and then I get rid of this indentation, which I can either do by deleting it, or I can do Shift and Tab, give it a second to update, and now that works fine. You see, now story is available throughout this script. It's only available in this script, it's not a global variable, but it's an instance variable. It's all the way through this script. I'm also going to want prompts to be here because I'm going to be using prompts in several functions in this video. So we now have three separate variables. We have player words, story, and prompts. While I'm here, it's also getting a little bit too verbose. I'm thinking here, my line 18, variable words equals getNode vboxcontainer / xboxcontainer / playertext.text. It's starting to get a little bit hard to read. So I'm going to make a new variable. And this variable is going to be called, let's start with the player text node. And all I need to do is just tell it what that is. So that is player text, and I could also drag it across. But I'll get an error here. And the error is use onReady variable. I need to put a new keyword before variable, onReady. Why? Well, Godot is going to make the top node of the scene and then work its way down. So it'll make Looneylips, then background, then VBox container, then display text. It's going to run the script on this, or rather set the script up, the moment that node is made. However, I am referring to something way down the tree. So if I make this script and tell it variable player text equals this node, that node doesn't exist yet. The onReady keyword allows me to say, there's going to be a node, this variable is that node. Note, by the way, I'm not going to call it .text, I'm just going to point to the node, because that allows me to either set the text, or clear it, or do whatever other function I want. There's various things we're going to want later, so I want to give myself the option. Let's also make a new onReady variable called display text. I'm keeping these the same name as the node, so it's not confusing. And I'm just going to put that display text in there. To prove this works, I can now get rid of this entirely and just write display text. And when I press play, we should get the same functionality as before. Werewolves like chocolate milk. Whatever. I just like typing stuff. Awesome. So we're now at a place where we've got variables that will work in all the functions, and we've got shortcuts for these words, so I can replace words here with player text. Okay, now we're going to massively change the functionality. At the moment we're at 26 lines of code. We're going to pretty much double it by the end of this video. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out the entire ready function. I'll just press Control-K. I could also just put this symbol at the beginning of the line. I'm going to put Control-K because it allows me to do multiple lines at once. Now I want to make a new function. And let's add some lines so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. And this function is going to be called add to player words. And what I want to do here is I want to take the player words and add a new entry to the array. To add a new entry to an array, I'm going to use append. Append is a function built in to an array. So let's start that. So I want player words dot append. And just to show you what this does, I'm going to hold Control and click it. Append appends an element to the end of an array. So this is just part of the array search. I could also go to search and type in arrays, and here are all the different things you can do with an array. Awesome. I'm going to close that with Control W. I could probably close that and that. I've got a bunch of things open I don't want. I just want the one script. Awesome. So what am I appending? Because at the moment I'm adding nothing. Well, what I want is the player text dot text. Isn't that easier? That's so much easier than all this business. In fact, you know what? I don't think we need update display text at all. Let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of that and put pass. And let's get rid of this and put pass. Okay, don't worry. It's going to look a lot less scary in a minute. I know we've just deleted a bunch of things, but that was there to show us what we can do in future. Okay, so now I've got a thing where when text is entered, I want to add to player words, right? Which is that. However, I don't need to be passing this new text here. I need to leave that in because that is information that is going to be used by the signal, but I'm not using it. And that's okay. I mean, Godot will give me a slight warning about that later, but we can live with that. Okay, so we can now add that to the player words. We're not doing anything with it. We've also got a slight issue. The slight issue we've got is that we're going to keep adding to the player words forever. So I need to use if and else. So let's make a brand new function, and what am I really doing here? I'm checking if the story's done. So let's call this is story done. And let's scroll down here, and what does this need to do? Well, it needs to say return player words dot size. Okay, so that's going to say how many variables are within this array. Size, if I hold Control and click on it, is a built-in function of array. So we can see here there's size, there's shuffle, there's resize, there's remove, there's a whole bunch of other things we can do. I'm going to close that with Control W. And what's return do? Return says, whatever just called this function, send this back to it. If I put return by itself, it'll say send nothing back to it. Important point, once return has been called in a function, nothing below it will be run in that function. So if I put something in here, player words equals Bob, this line will never be run. Now, I don't actually want it to say for, right? I want it to say, is the story done? So I'm going to use equals equals, which is equal to. And what do I want? I want the size of the prompts array, which would be prompts dot size. So this is going to return a true or a false. It'll return true if there are as many things in the player word array as there are in the prompts array, which is going to come in useful when we want to check the amount of things in that array. So let's make a function that does that. I'm going to put it, what do you think, below? Yeah, let's put it below. Why not? Function, and what are we doing? We are check player word length. Did I call it player word? Player words. Let's keep that nice and consistent. And here I want to use an if condition. And you know what? Let's get rid of this. There we go. Lots of space. That's what I want. So what do? I say if is story done, do something. Okay, so what is this going to do? If is a keyword that says there's going to be something after if before this colon. If it's true, do the next code block, which is indented underneath it. I can make multiple if statements. And what this will do is it'll run this line here on my 31, and then when it's done that, it'll try and run 33, no matter what the results are. What if I don't want it to do both, right? Do one or the other. I can use elif. Elif is else if. So it'll try and run 31. If it does, it will not run 33, right? Because that's an else if. If it can't run 31, it will try and run 33. I can also use else. Else means if none of the things above have worked, try this, or do this. Don't even try. Don't check what it is. This is a catch-all. So if is story done, elif not is story done is clearly redundant. I just need an if and an else. Okay, so if the story is done, we're going to tell the story, which is a function that doesn't currently exist, so Godot's going to complain. Else, I want to prompt the player, which is another thing that doesn't exist. So Godot's going to complain again. So let's make a couple of temporary functions. Function tell story. And function prompt player, which is on this line. Function prompt player. See, this is the problem with learning to type by just using computers for years and years and years. I make so many typos because I've never actually learned to touch type. Let's put a colon at the end of this so it actually works like a proper function. Okay, so what it's going to do now is it's going to, when I call this function, and remember right now this function will never be called because I haven't told it to call it, it's going to check the length of the player words array. And it's going to do that by checking, is the story done? What's is story done? Just return this value. Player word size is the same as the prompt size. If that's true, tell the story. In all other cases, there's only two cases, so I could have used an elif, but else is a little more elegant. Prompt the player. Okay, so let's make these functions. Let's start with tell story. What's tell story going to be? Well, tell story is going to be display text dot text equals story modulated by, and this time I want the player words, right? I don't want the prompts, that wouldn't make any sense. I want the player words. So it's just going to display the words. Now, the prompt, and the prompt's going to be a little bit trickier. Not much, but a little bit. What I want is the display text dot text equals may I have? May I have is better grammar, let's use may. May I have space plus, and what do I want? I want the prompts, but I don't want all the prompts. I want a specific prompt. I need a way of tracking what it is. And this is where it gets fun. You see, what I can do is I can use the square brackets to tell it which entry in the array I want. 0, 1, 2, 3. And I can be sneaky here. I can go player words dot size. So what it's going to do is say, okay, what's the size of the player words array? How many things are in it? 0. Okay, that number you've just given me, that number you've just returned, use that as the position in the array. This one. Well, while we're here, let's change this. I want a name, that's probably not a capital, a noun, an adverb, that's an adverb, isn't it? Ugh, what's this? Tingan adverbly? I think I've just found the name of my next role-playing character. Adverb, there we go. And glorious is an adjective. If you're not sure of the difference between an adjective and an adverb, adjectives modify nouns, adverbs modify verbs. Awesome. Okay. May I have space, a name, plus please. And let's put a space there and close the string. Okay, so when it prompts the player, it's going to find what's the prompt at this position, and it's going to calculate the position by counting the things in the player words array. So we can already use the functions within Godot to come up with creative solutions to problems. Okay, now we still have an issue, which is this isn't actually going to run, right? Or it'll run, but we're never going to call these key functions. We're never going to check the player words length, which means we're never going to check if the story's done. We're never going to tell the story or prompt the player. So at some point, we need to actually do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back this function, and I'm going to change display text.text. So now I'm going to put check player word length in ready. So the first thing it's going to do is that. So I'll now start prompting. Also, in add player words, I want to make sure that I'm clearing the player text. So let's get player text dot clear. Why am I putting it here instead of texture button pressed and player text? Because it doesn't need to happen. I don't need to type it in twice, right? I should just type it in once. Okay, moment of truth. Is this going to work? I don't know. Let's find out. It should do. May I have a name, please? Is cat, who's one of my cats. Oh, hasn't displayed the next thing. Okay, so let's double check that. Why isn't it doing that? Oh, I see why. Okay, I'm only checking the player word length once. So I need to make sure that when we add to the words, we also check the player word length. So check player word length. Silly mistake. One of the most common mistakes I make when I'm programming is forget to call a function I've written. Let's try that again. May I have a name, please? Let's use Caboodle, my other cat. May I have a noun? Happy. May I have an adverb? Purry. May I have an adjective? Joyous. I'm feeling quite happy right now, apparently. Once upon a time, someone called Caboodle ate a happy flavoured sandwich, which made him, I should put a gender in there, feel all purry inside. It was a joyous day. Look, we're almost there. There's one more thing I would like to do. I'd like to welcome the player to Looney Lips. Right now, we're just going straight into a prompt. So, I would like you to display a brief introduction to the player when they first start the game. So pause the video, give that a shot, and when you come back, I'll show you my solution. And welcome back. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do before check player words length is I'm going to say display text dot text equals, and now I'm just going to put my happy friendly introduction. Welcome to Looney Lips. We're going to tell a story and have a wonderful, I was going to say wondrous, but I always spell that wrong, time. And now when I press, let's put a space there as well. Now when I press play, it goes away. Why does it do that? Because in check player word length, I'm saying prompt the player. And in prompt the player, I'm now setting the display text as something else. So I'm immediately overwriting it. So instead of equals, I'm going to use plus equals. Plus equals means add this to what exists. So now when I press play, look at this. Welcome to Looney Lips. We're going to tell a story and have a wonderful time. May I have a name, please? Jan. Actually, you know what? Let's do Ben. Ben. May I have a noun, please? Uh-oh, we're not clearing it. Okay, now I could set display text dot text to an empty string here. So I'll clear it out and then add it in. But if I do that, I've just removed the solution we just put in, right? I mean, the whole point of putting this plus equals so it wouldn't do that. So instead, I'm going to cut that, and I need to find a place to put this. Well, I can't put it in prompt player because that gives us the same problem. I want to do it when new text is added. So let's put it on add to player words, and I'm going to put it right above player text.clear. Why am I putting it here? Really? Because visually that's where they are on the screen and it just makes sense to me. So let's press play. Welcome to Looney Lips. We're going to tell a story and have a wonderful time. May I have a name, please? Ben! May I have a noun, please? Oh, it's looking promising. Computer. May I have an adverb, please? Confusedly. May I have an adjective, please? Splendid. Once upon a time, someone called Ben ate a computer-flavoured sandwich, which made him feel all confusedly inside. Ooh, that's a good piece of grammar. It was a splendid day. Fantastic. Look at that. We've now got the basics of our game. Everything from here is just adding scale. Which brings us to the end of this video. In this video, we've gotten a specific entry from an array based on its position, which is sneaky. We've learned how to use the append and size methods of an array, and we've used an if-else condition to check the logic. Quite a lot happening here, but we've already got a pretty functional game. Now everything else is just making it bigger. So how did it work for you? Did you come up with a better solution than I did? Did you get confused with the if and else conditions? How are you doing? Let me know on the Discord, on Facebook, on the forums. I'd love to get your feedback. And meanwhile, great stuff, and I will see you in the next video.